more fights announced, Ian Garry and Makhachev doing it in Philly.
This is a lot better fight than I initially thought. We know that Islam he's morphed into so much more than just being that dominant grappler, right? All aspects of his game is on another level. But there's something about Ian Garry's game that I feel is hard to get past. I feel like one thing that Ian does really well is that he makes adjustments really good on the fly. Man. He's got some sneaky power. He's got some tricky things that he does. Garry's tough, man. He's long and he's scrappy.
Now, when you hear a guy speak about wanting to do something at a certain time and you tell them all you're going to do is run, you try to make that man fight you, not in the style. I don't think that Garry's dumb enough to fall for that. I think he's going to fight with his game plan from the very start to try and wrest that belt from Makhachev. I don't think that Garry's tied to the round that he said he wants to end the fight in. I don't think any of that matters. But I ultimately do believe that even though Islam speaking about this fight where he called it the Timu version of McGregor versus Habib.
Как говорится, с Алиэкспресса.
He's talking about Garry being a runner.
I just have to run in this camp too much because I have to follow him because he runs too much. I know his game plan. We always see his fight.
I believe, or have to believe, because it's the same coaching staff, Coach Javier Mendez that I had, that he is smart enough to know what needs to be done in order to pursue this fight.
Couple weeks out from your title defense against Ian Machado Garry at Philly. How has camp been? How's preparation been? What do you make of Ian as an opponent?
Yeah, everything is going very well. We stay in the same gym, like last couple of fights we stay in New Jersey, training in Nick Cotton MMA. It's very nice gym. I have too many brothers and friends and sparring partner with me. Almost all team is here. We're training together. Habib is here, Javier is here, you know. Training every day, very hard to be ready.
18 stoppages. And of course, if he can get a hold of Ian Garry and take him down, yeah, it's probably going to be easy. Ian will struggle to get back to his feet, and I don't think he can match Islam in terms of jiu-jitsu or submission grappling, okay? But it's the style that Ian Garry has. It is the length and the reach that he has, and it is his ability to silence out the...
I actually think Ian Garry can beat Islam. I'm not predicting for you that he's going to. We'll get to that as this fight gets closer, but I'm sharing for you he can. And Ian Garry is a pain in the ass. And this whole thing that he can't wrestle, go ask Rachmanov if that's true. Or this whole thing that you can take Ian's back and finish him. Well, go ask Rachmanov if that's true. Or anybody else that Ian's ever fought, because none of them ever finished him. But if you're going to deal with Islam Makhachev, first and foremost, can you stop a takedown? Second, can you go hard for 5 rounds? Because Islam can. If you change it to 10 rounds, Islam's not gonna wilt. If Ian Garry can find that something, you might even predict him to win. Now, just because he finds that something doesn't mean he will. Islam's then got the ability to show us that he's got some skills that he hasn't yet had to show us. But can he win? Oh yeah. Yes, Ian Garry can win. Yes. And if you're telling me he could stop a shot and he can go hard for 25 minutes, which I think if you watch the Rachmanov match, you're going to come to that very conclusion, it ups his chances. He says he's gonna bring us today's version of Conor and Aldo. I like it. But what specifically is he referring to?
He does well with Islam on the stand-up because he's rangy, he's tricky, all those. But on the ground, he doesn't. He does okay, but he doesn't survive on the ground. I don't think. I mean, well, okay, he might survive 5 rounds, but he won't get the best of Islam on the ground. That I'm 100% sure about that. On the stand-up, he's pretty tricky. So one punch can change everything on that. One kick, one punch, one knee. You know.
Hey, guess what Islam's reach is?
70.5.
Oh, you know.
I fought him. I studied it.
That's not a guessing game.
I'm just kidding. They told me.
They told you.
I fought him at 70.5.
I'm like, damn, this guy does his research.
No.
Our brother in arms is lost. He's lost. There's no getting him back. You know? I bet you Ian Garry once upon a time had a friendship group of Irish lads from Dublin, dude. You know? And every now and then his name gets brought up in conversation and they go, we miss him. You know? May he rest in peace, dude. The old Ian's gone. He's turned his back on the boys.
They know I'm the trickiest opponent. That's why he's calling out Patches. That's why he's calling out Morales. That's why the champion of the world, one of the most dominant athletes we've ever seen, called out Kamaru Usman to defend his world title fight against. There is nobody in this division that is a trickier matchup for Islam Makhachev. I'm 6'3", I'm long, I'm tall, I'm beautiful. I know how to use my hands, my feet. I know how to stop the takedown. I stopped 15 of 17 takedowns from Shavkat and Bilal Muhammad. He can say anything he wants to say. He can make up any excuse he wants. He can say what he wants.
Do you think he respects you as a threat?
If he won't, he will.
There are fighters in this sport whose opinions carry weight simply because of who they are and what they have been through. Dustin Poirier is one of those fighters. He is not an analyst who has studied the game from a distance. He is not a commentator constructing narratives for entertainment value. He is a man who has stood across from the most dangerous lightweights on the planet, traded with them, survived them, and in many cases finished them. When Poirier looks at a fight and delivers a verdict, it comes from a place that very few people in this sport can access. It comes from lived experience at the absolute highest level of mixed martial arts. And right now, Dustin Poirier is looking at Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado GARRY at UFC 330 and delivering a verdict that has stopped the combat sports world in its tracks. The word destroy is not a word that gets attached to Islam Makhachev lightly. This is a man who has handled elite opposition with a consistency and a completeness that has made the lightweight division feel almost unsolvable for the better part of 3 years. He does not just win, he dismantles. He imposes his will so thoroughly and so systematically that opponents leave the cage looking like they were never truly in the fight to begin with. For someone of Poirier's standing and fighting intelligence to look at this matchup and land on the word destroy, but direct it at the champion rather than the challenger, is a statement that demands serious examination. So what is Poirier seeing that has brought him to this conclusion? Because this is not a fighter who speaks carelessly about his peers. He has too much respect for the sport and too much understanding of what it actually takes to compete at this level to throw words around without meaning them. When Poirier says GARRY will destroy Islam, there is a specific analytical foundation underneath that statement, and understanding that foundation is the only way to truly grasp why this prediction has landed the way it has inside the MMA community. Start with what Poirier knows better than almost anyone. He knows what it feels like to be a lightweight or near lightweight striker trying to operate against an opponent who wants to smother your game and drag you into deep water. He has been on both sides of that equation throughout his career. He has learned, through experience that left permanent marks, exactly how a high-level pressure grappler takes away a striker's tools. He knows the specific moments when the distance collapses. He knows how the clinch changes the entire rhythm of a fight. He knows what it costs physically and mentally to resist that kind of pressure for 25 minutes. And he knows what happens when a striker has the specific attributes to prevent that pressure from ever fully establishing itself. Analysts within the combat sports community have pointed out that GARRY's style represents a genuine evolution in the kind of striking threat that pressure-based grapplers struggle to solve. It is not simply that GARRY has good hands. Many fighters at this level have good hands. What separates GARRY is the structural way he uses distance, his frame, and his timing to make forward movement expensive for any opponent who commits to closing the gap. Every step Islam takes toward GARRY is a step that GARRY has been training to punish for years. The left hand that has finished opponents at the welterweight level becomes even more consequential when you consider that Islam must move forward to implement anything meaningful from his own arsenal. Poirier understands that dynamic at a cellular level. He has felt what it is like to be the fighter absorbing that punishment as someone tries to close distance against a sharp, long, timing-based striker. And what he appears to be saying, with the weight of all that experience behind him, is that GARRY's version of that threat is severe enough to not just slow Islam down, but to genuinely overwhelm him. That is an extraordinary claim, and it deserves to be tested against the reality of what Islam Makhachev brings to this fight, because dismissing the champion's capabilities would be intellectually dishonest and analytically lazy. Islam's grappling system is not simply a collection of techniques. It is a connected, flowing, adaptive approach to controlling a fight that has been refined over decades of elite Dagestani training. When his first takedown attempt fails, he does not retreat and reassess from a distance. He chains immediately into the next entry, using the energy his opponent spent defending the first attempt as the fuel for the second. That relentless chaining is what makes him so difficult to deal with across 5 rounds, even for opponents who successfully defend his early attempts. His striking, which was once considered a secondary concern, has matured into a genuine complementary threat. He sets up his grappling with striking combinations that force opponents to react defensively, and he uses those defensive reactions as the opening for his entries. It is a layered system that requires a fighter to solve multiple problems simultaneously, rather than focusing purely on one dimension of the fight. Several respected voices have noted that the fighters who have given Islam the most difficulty share a common trait. They maintained active, dangerous output on the feet long enough to disrupt his rhythm before he could fully establish his his grappling. Gary does not just have the ability to do that. He does it as a natural expression of his fighting style rather than as a manufactured game plan. That distinction is critical because manufactured game plans get abandoned when pressure mounts. Natural style does not. What Poirier is essentially saying, reading between the lines of a statement as bold as this one, is that Gary's natural style is the specific nightmare scenario for Islam's specific system. Not a minor inconvenience, not a manageable challenge, a genuine structural problem that could manifest as something catastrophic inside that octagon on fight night. The general sentiment among professionals who have studied this matchup closely is that Gary deserves far more respect in this fight than the betting lines and the mainstream conversation have been giving him. The gap between Islam and Gary on paper looks significant, but paper does not account for style. Paper does not account for the specific ways one fighter's strengths collide with another fighter's vulnerabilities, and Poirier, who has navigated that collision at the highest level more times than most active fighters, is suggesting that when you account for style, the gap is not nearly as clean as it appears. For Poirier himself, this prediction carries personal weight beyond simple fight analysis. He has his own history with the lightweight division and his own understanding of what it means to be underestimated by a champion or an opponent who looked unbeatable on paper. His career has been defined by moments where the stylistic reality of a fight proved far more important than the statistical or reputational gap between the fighters. He is projecting that understanding onto Gary versus Islam, and the implication is that Gary is the kind of fighter who makes styles matter more than records. Those who follow the sport carefully are not dismissing Poirier's read on this fight, because the combination of his fighting intelligence, his relevant experience at the highest level of the lightweight division, and the specific analytical logic underneath his prediction gives it a credibility that demands engagement rather than dismissal. This is not a hot take designed to generate attention. This is a seasoned fighter's honest assessment of a matchup he understands from the inside out. What is ultimately at stake here extends far beyond the lightweight championship. For Gary, a performance that validates Poirier's prediction would announce him to the world not just as a champion, but as a generational talent who arrived exactly when the sport needed a new story. For Islam, the response to this kind of external pressure is yet another test of the championship character he has displayed consistently throughout his reign. Champions are not just defined by the fights they win, they are defined by how they respond when the entire world starts to question whether their time at the top might be ending. The prediction here still leans toward Islam finding a path through this fight. His championship experience, his coaching resources, and his ability to solve tactical problems in real time are factors that remain compelling even against the specific threat Gary presents. But the margin is narrower than the public conversation suggests. And Dustin Poirier, a man who has lived inside that margin his entire career, believes the margin is narrow enough for Gary to cross it completely. So here is the question that this prediction from Poirier raises more sharply than anything else. Do you believe that Dustin Poirier's experience as an elite lightweight gives him a genuine insight into this matchup that analysts without his fighting background are missing? Or do you think Islam's championship system is too complete for even the most stylistically awkward challenger to disrupt? Drop your honest take in the comments, because this is the debate the MMA world is having right now, and it is one worth having seriously. And if you want every major prediction, every fighter reaction, and every story that matters in combat sports covered with this level of depth and this level of detail, subscribe now. We are here every single day covering this sport the way it deserves to be covered.